Well, folks, it's great to see you all. I'm Mike Festa, State Director of AARP, sponsoring the summit with a lot of other good folks. And there's a lot to be had today, and I hope you agree that the agenda is tight, but impactful, and a lot of good information will come from it. The opportunity to do some more intimate conversation this afternoon, I know you'll take advantage of. I certainly hope you do. So on behalf of AARP Massachusetts, I want to welcome you to this very important summit. For me, it's always fun because, I've been talking to people today about it's like we're all family. I mean, most of the folks in this room, we work together. One way or another, we're engaged in the aging community. And there are new faces here, which delights me. And there are some faces I haven't seen, Kara, for a long time. And so it's just great that communities are bringing folks in to engage and learn more about the age and dementia-friendly work that both the state itself, and of course we're going to be hearing from Robin shortly, from Executive Office of Elder Affairs. But all in all, the fact of the matter is that we are in this room, I think, because we recognize that it isn't just about the fact that the population is aging. That's pretty much old news. What the important thing is oh, that wasn't even intended. I'm so sorry. Even 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee doesn't do the trick for me anymore. Must be. Anyway, the simple fact is that the imperative of this population demographic has been with us for a long time. What's newer and what is fundamental to what we need to do is a focus on policies and practices in the community that will ensure that people can age well in place. Because that's been the overarching mission, right, of all of us in this room. We want to keep people in their home longer. That's what people want, whether it's the home care system or councils on aging and quality of life in general. There are ways we can address that. But the simple truth is that we are failing, in my humble opinion, to embrace and engage and throw the resources, and these are not just money resources, but the resources of all types into community-based work so that people feel that they are part of the community. The most recent conversations that have been happening at the national level, and we've been ahead of that game on isolation, reducing isolation, fighting loneliness, recognizing that that is a very physically dangerous problem, as well as a quality of life issue. I'm so proud with Sandra Harris in the room. Sandra, where are you, friend? There we go. Our state president has been leading, as some of you know, the Loneliness and Social Isolation Task Force. And there are a lot of, 80 or so organizations that are working very hard to address that. All of it rolls into a simple fact that we have to continue to really push the envelope when it comes to trying innovative ways to address these challenges. And we have great partners. We have great partners in the room. We have great partners across the state. And in the effort to build the age and dementia-friendly network, I think we've done a really good job. Let's remember, it wasn't that long ago that the state was not age-friendly as a committed public policy. That many communities really had no idea what it was about. Now we're well over 100, 115 or so age-friendly. In addition, we have a lot of dementia-friendly communities. So the movement is strong and it's sustainable. And it reminds me of another point that I want to just get out. This cannot happen without good resources. And Point 32 Health, and Philip's here representing the organization, perhaps others are here. But, when you think about how does it happen, when grants are going into community organizations that really put wind behind the sails of the work, that's how it gets done. Conversations are all well and good, policy discussions, lobbying, it's all well and good. But the work gets done when organizations and people have the resources to deliver. And what Point 32 Health has done from the beginning is to provide incredible resources to communities, as well as now the state with the Community Compact, and that's been happening now for several years. So all of this leads us to a good place, but there's more work to be done. Formal acknowledgments. We're here at Holy Cross. It's not the first time. We love these folks. Great to work with as an organization, obviously centrally located. We're very pleased with the facility. I hope when you have a chance to see the folks who are working the room with the food, both at breakfast and at lunch, to compliment them, because they're hardworking people and good people. James Fuccione in the back of the room. He often is in the back of the room at whatever meeting I'm at, and he's taking pictures, and he's trying to be discreet, but I'm calling you out, buddy. James Fuccione with the Healthy Aging Collaborative. Always good to see you. I've already called out Patty Sullivan. I got to do it again. Don't worry, I'll get the good witch from Dementia Friendly and MCOA. Thank you, Patty, and of course you'll be very involved with this program today. I want to thank the City of Worcester, and James is making faces at me as if I would forget to acknowledge the one who put this together and has done it for many years, is the lead for all the work we do in Age and Dementia Friendly and our Livable Communities portfolio at AARP, and that's the gentleman in the back of the room as well, Antron Watson. Thank you. So I want to just acknowledge that we do have a busy program, and I've gone on too long. Being a recovering politician, it's dangerous. And in fact, Antron, I tried to get Antron to do this part of the program, the MC, and he's, no, Mike, you got to do this, but I keep warning him that this is the danger. Antron would never be droning on like this long. He'd get to the next part of the agenda, so that's what I'm going to do, following his lead as he's making faces at me, and that is to acknowledge that, what we're trying to accomplish here, and I do want to make this point, we realize, too, that part of the challenge, frankly, look around the room. We're not reaching every community in the Commonwealth. We are not in the Hispanic community as we should be, as much as we should be. We're not in the Black and African American community as we should be. We're not in gateway cities in the robust way that we desire and know we need to. So part of the lens that we need to look at is, how do we commit and engage those communities that are underserved and frankly are missing the opportunities that we present, and the work that we're doing can improve their lives as well. So let's always remember that the focus on equity and inclusion and the acknowledged deficiencies in how we go about doing our work has to be forefront in our minds, and I know it is. I think it's also important to acknowledge that the successful communities, this is just my editorial opinion, but I think it rings true with most of you. The most successful communities with age and dementia-friendly work are the ones that start with the volunteers that say, hey, I want to see something happening in my community. I'm not happy with the lack of focus on aging in place, the lack of focus on addressing some of the challenges, both in terms of housing, transportation, and the full gamut of those 8 domains of aging. The other thing that I would tell you, again, editorial comment on my part, from my perspective as a former local official as well, it always frightens me when the mayor or the city manager says, let's get the senior center director to get involved in this. They'll lead it, and that'll be the end of it. I've taken care of the problem. No, right? We know that a good program and a good way of changing the focus and delivering the work properly requires every department, every part of that city or town government to commit to the work and to see their place in ensuring that people can age in place properly. And this, of course, as Robin knows, where's my friend Robin? There you are. I keep looking over here, and I look at Jess, because Jess is my boss, but Robin and Patty. But, the fact is the state recognizes as well that this is really, really important. The government, under the Baker and Polito administration, made the commitment to go age-friendly. The Healy-Driscoll administration has taken that ball and is really running with it. And I want to say, too, and I think we should acknowledge that when you have a new housing director who has, as a secretary, who has livable communities as part of his title, and we know Kim Driscoll is one of the great leaders in the age-friendly work, as she was the mayor of Salem and now lieutenant governor, a lot of things are going in the right direction. So we rejoice at that, and we acknowledge that there are plenty of ways that we can do better, but at the same time, we have the resources and the commitment to really get to the next level. So with that, I am really excited to introduce someone who I would characterize in the following way. I mean, the title is in a way critical because she is a leader in the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. But to me, the really important introduction of Robin Lipson is one that acknowledges that she is in the trenches. She may be, the leader and the title, and she may be working very closely with the Secretary Chen. But when it comes to where the work gets done, how the work gets done, how the work gets organized, there is no finer public servant in state government than Robin Lipson. And we are blessed to have her. And I'd like to bring her up now to speak on the matters that she would like to talk about. Hi, Robin.
And I can stand here and make fun of Mike Festa since, he called everyone else out. Good morning. It's great to be here, and it's wonderful to see people who I've worked with for years. It's especially wonderful to actually see face-to-face people I've only been with on Zoom for the past however many years. And I'm just curious, how many of you have been to this gathering before in previous years? Okay, hands down. How many of you are new to this show? Awesome. That's just great. That's really exciting. Thank you all for being here. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit this morning, and I will be very brief so that Antron doesn't get upset with me and we can keep things on time, is just kind of, my perspective on both the history and the future of this work. And, I think the important thing about the history of this journey first is all the partners, which Mike referenced, and I think are probably scrolling behind me. And they are more than partners. I mean, they are deeply committed for life to this work, and you don't often find that around public initiatives. But the second real important thing about our history is that it's all about community. This age-friendly journey is rooted in community in every single way. We started much of this work with community research, which was funded by the Point 32 Health Foundation. The other thing we did early in this work is we traveled around the state and we listened to people all over the state and said, what works in your community? What doesn't? What are you worried about? What do you want to see change? And that really has driven the work and the individuality of the work in each community. And Bonnie Mae Shantz, who works with me, who's sitting over here, and I are privileged to serve in a learning collaborative with other states around the country who do this kind of work. And for the most part, the other states are all top-down, executive order, legislative, blah, blah. Here's the policy, push it down. And we sit on these calls and we say, nope, not us. We are bottom up. I just stand there and I collect all the stuff. I don't tell anyone what to do. And so I want to emphasize that this is really got its roots in community. And when people ask what our secret sauce is, why we've been able to do so much, our secret sauce is community. It's that our mission, vision, and goals are about what works for community. We haven't forced a framework on anyone. There are great frameworks out there. AARP has great materials. WHO has great materials. Dementia Friendly US has great materials. But we don't force any ideology on any community. We welcome everyone to the work in whatever way makes sense to them. And I will tell you from working across the country that this is wildly unique and maybe, in fact, unheard of. And Bonnie Mae and I are going to work to convince them that maybe they should think about this plan and this strategy. So our plan, our age-friendly plan for the state is community-led, community-driven, and just full of community voices. And if we look at some of the things that have happened over the past 5 years, they're quite extraordinary. Mike talked about community compacts, a way for state government to invest in local communities to help them do things that would amplify age-friendly work. We have so many examples of aging in all policies, which is my goal. My goal at the Executive Office of Elder Affairs is not to be in charge of everything related to aging. My goal is to make sure that everybody adopts an aging lens when they make decisions. We've seen that in transportation. As Mike mentioned, we've seen it in the new Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities. For a minute, my staff were a little put off that he took the word livable communities. And in fact, there's even something about age-friendly communities in the housing bond bill. People were like, oh my God, that's not okay, that's our work. And I'm like, nope, that is everyone's work. It's great that it's in the bond bill. And it's great that there are initiatives in the housing bill that will definitely help older adults and improve housing for older adults. And so there are other great examples, shared streets, sidewalks being completed, lighting being augmented, digital access to Wi-Fi. There are communities that have created free Wi-Fi zones originally during the pandemic so that older adults would have access easily outdoors to Wi-Fi where they could gather safely. And I could list dozens and dozens and dozens of examples. And there are 200 communities who provide those examples. But rather than list those examples, I'm going to tell you about how we showcase them this year. Every year we owe Mike's bosses at AARP a report on how our age-friendly work is going. And for years we wrote the 50-page report, and it was always a great report, but we thought, let's just mix it up. New age, new era, new administration, let's mix it up. And a few of us had brainstormed with our colleagues, the partners that you see listed here, and someone who shall remain nameless had the idea that maybe we should do some kind of documentary or some kind of documentation that was not in written form. And so the Reimagine Aging podcast was born. It was just released 2 weeks ago. It is 6 short stories, about 6 minutes each, about examples all over the state. One is on transportation and how people get around. One is on how people use technology. Another is on food and how you create culturally attractive and familiar food and opportunities for people to have good nutrition, and so forth. There's a story on dementia friendly. There's a story on aging with dignity and purpose. And so we folks are on Spotify. I told my kids that I was on Spotify, and they were like, Mom, everyone's on Spotify. It's like, oh, okay, thank you very much. But we encourage you. I think that there are cards with the codes. I know people have an opportunity to listen today. But this is kind of the way we're trying to shout out to the world that community voices are the most important voices. And that's really what drives this work. So what's next? This has been, very successful. As Mike said, we still have challenges. There's always more to do. It's been about 5 years since we built our plan and the 6 goals that have driven our work. And I think it's time for us to take a step back and refresh it. We have, as you know, a fairly new administration. The environment has changed considerably. We survived a pandemic. And there's really an opportunity at this point to better understand what's important to the well-being of older adults over time, and to more proactively align priorities across state agencies to further embed aging in all policies. So I'm going to call that the refresh of the plan, and we're going to start on that. We're going to look at some best practice research, what's really moved the needle, not just here, but in other states. We'll probably do some more listening sessions and seek the voices and involvement of many of you and your feedback. And the other thing that I think is really important for us to do is we all feel great about this work. I don't really have an objective dashboard to say, look at this. I have the wonderful map that James does for us every time we go out in public, 200 communities, 201 communities. But we don't really have an objective framework that says, here are the key metrics. Here's how we know this is working. And I think as a state and as a group of people with shared interests, we want to get there. So watch out for invitations to participate in that and be part of refreshing the plan. And I think I'll wrap here so that Antron stays on time and that you all get on with the rest of the morning. So thank you very much. Listen to the podcast. Send it to your friends. It's pretty exciting.